Hi, this is Eva for Once Upon a Timeline. Welcome to my live stream. Let's see who's here. All right, we only have a few today. Dark Wolf's Den, Bubbles Bubbles, OMG, Tijvijik Zix, Kilcook Monty. Hello. Let's see. Status good. All right, let's go. So this stream is brought to you by QB. Even though she's not here yet, she became a patron on my Patreon account, so I really appreciate that. Thank you, QB. Olivier Henry, Claire Jane, also checking in here. All right, so this one I saw on Reddit. This was on Retconned by Narwhale Dundee, and this is just an interesting little notification here that the Mandela effect is starting to get out there, and apparently Jim Carrey mentioned it on TV recently. And so we're going to play the clip here. So here it is. If you click on this one, you'll get to hear, and it is at 2 minutes and 58 seconds. Now, hopefully you can hear this. I think I have it set so that you can hear what comes out of the monitor right now. So let me know. Hopefully you can hear this. But basically, he tells the story, and then this guy's like, Bill Mayer's like, no, that wasn't me. And then Jim Carrey comes in and says, oh, sure, it's not you. This is a Mandela effect. So he uses it accurately in the statement because basically he's saying it never happened. He said he did. So it's interesting. It kind of shows to me that he has a pretty decent knowledge of what the Mandela effect is supposed to be about, because this is not it's not Berenstain Bears, it's not the most common Mandela effects, but it is, in our realm of what we would consider a potential Mandela effect. And Jim Carrey, of all people, it was interesting that he would be the one. So here we go.
I've noticed, we're both around the same age, or you're a little younger, but as time goes by, I noticed that your mind really moves the furniture. Yeah. I don't think that was me. I think you're transferring that with somebody.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't think
It's the Mandela effect.
I never... I never did.
Is that how that works?
Yes, you're thinking of Greg Kinnear or something.
Oh, no. You were a young, lovely
really?
Bill Maher.
I don't remember ever doing well.
Beautiful.
So anyway, that's it. Hopefully you guys could hear that. Good. All right. Yeah, you heard it. Dark Wolf's Den heard it. So anyways, interesting. Not really a Mandela effect in itself, but a lot of people were commenting here that it's interesting also that it's the star of the Truman Show is telling us about the Truman Show. So yeah, good point. Alrighty, and then that's the exact dialogue if you wanted to pause that and really read it. At least I didn't actually check it, but that's how it's been transcribed. Okay, so the I don't know if you saw that weird dolphin thing that is the thumbnail for tonight's chat, but that is a Risso's dolphin. I have never heard of those before. Apparently, they're saying now that all the toothed whale species that have the teeth like that bite on each other a lot and are all scarred up. And that's why the Risso's dolphin has all those scar marks on it, because they bite on each other. I've never seen anything like that. Sometimes they would get some injuries from fighting with other animals, but now they're saying infants are dorsally grayed to brown, blah, blah, blah. The non-white areas darken to black. Linear scars, mostly from social interaction, eventually cover the bulk of the body. Scarring is a common feature in toothed whales, but Risso's dolphins tend to be unusually heavily scarred. So I've not heard of such violence in the amongst dolphins, but apparently they are fairly aggressive in this timeline. Another interesting thing here, a population is found off Santa Catalina Island, where they coexist with pilot whales to feed on squid populations. Now, I used to hear that the scarring would be due to squids, not social interaction with each other. This is also a Mandela for me. Santa Catalina Island is an island near California, but it used to just be Catalina Island, and everybody always called it Catalina Island. I never heard this word Santa until just a couple months ago. I think it was just a little bit before Christmas, ironically. And now you see everywhere is Santa Catalina. And I have to keep reminding myself that Santa Catalina is Catalina. Because, of course, they're all said, oh, well, you just didn't know it had Santa on it. Well, you can't not know now because they're adding the Santa everywhere suddenly. So, very suspicious. I don't know if there's going to be another Catalina somewhere, and that's why the Santa got on there. But anyway, so a couple of MEs all together. Another thing I saw here was somewhere in here it mentioned what these risso dolphins were related to, and they said they're related to pygmy killer whales. I've never heard of a pygmy killer whale, but apparently, even though this is actually supposed to be a dolphin, but I've never heard this word before, pygmy killer whale. Look, they're about the size of a human. That shows one of them. Not a lot of specifically interesting stuff on it other than it. I just never heard of it. I mean, I've heard of killer whales. I've never heard of pygmy killer whales. I'm going to do a quick image search. I think that there's so many of these dolphins and whales coming out of the woodwork now. It's just getting impossible to keep up with them. These guys might be kind of new. I have not heard this one before. They look kind of boring right now, but sometimes they come in like that. They look like they're mostly all black, but look at the mouth region here. There's like a stripe there. I'm wondering if we will see some changes. Maybe this mouth here will the coloration will intensify over time. So what I see is a lot of them come in. Oh, see, look here. That could be very interesting if it intensifies. A lot of the animals are coming in normal looking, and then they get weirder and weirder. So I definitely keep an eye on this mouth thing for these pygmy killer whales. You can just barely see it now, this little stripy thing, but I have a suspicion that we will see more of that. Okay, so let's see. There's a couple new beasties for today. Let's see. Did I say who got those? Or was it me? Rizzo's. Who came up with Rizzo's? That was one of our commenters. Rizzo's dolphin was by Keill1, Keill, and then the digit 1. So good find. Keill1 finds a lot lately, especially. Let's see what we get. Now I know somebody said something. Oh, Cupie's in. Thanks for the donation, Cupie. I already mentioned you, but you were late. But we'll forgive you. Got a video about warm-blooded great white sharks. All right, let's check out the warm-blooded great white sharks. Okay, I think we mentioned this one partially warm-blooded. Yes, I think I've mentioned this one a few back. Yes, in my old timeline, other than mammals, things were cold-blooded, like fish and sharks and reptiles, but in this timeline, they're starting to break down that barrier now. So they're saying that some fish and some sharks are partially warm-blooded. These sharks can raise their temperature about the temperature of the water. They need to have occasional short bursts of speed in hunting. Okay, that's the world's worst sentence. How do sharks regulate body temperature? Sharks in general are poikilothermic, or informally cold-blooded. All right, but there's going to be some exception, apparently. All right, let's do this one. Actually, white sharks are more complex than you might think. They have a counter-current heat exchange, keeping their body warmer than the outside conditions. So they define cold-blooded as having a temperature, body temperature, as the outside conditions, but then they say that sharks are not exactly that. The generator of all this heat comes from the long muscles running down the length of their bodies, which charge a core of white muscle, ready for quick bursts of energy even in cold environments, which is why they are the apex predator of our temperate seas. We call this heterothermy. Why would a white shark need a built-in turbo booster? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, now interesting picture of that shark. Anyway, so yeah, that one is not super new for me, but it is new. I definitely agree on that. It's interesting because I see things and then I wonder if I'm the only one, and then somebody else goes, hey, look, this shark is warm-blooded. Yeah. Yep, I agree. Doolittle has 2 O's now. Oh, it had 2 O's. Dang, that one, I think it's been flip-flopping a lot. Spell correct tries to change it to Doolittle. Okay, so it's now at Doolittle. That looks weird, actually. Yeah, I don't know. Was it originally 2 O's for me, I think? 1 O looks wrong. Although Google is not trying to fix my claim. It is agreeing there's 1 O. Dr. Doolittle. It looks like Dolittle now. Yeah. That one's been kind of an ongoing Emmy. I think it's a flip-flopper. Tijvijik says he's spoken on it before. I guess you mean Jim Carrey. That's interesting. I wonder, what did he say the other times? Did the O and the Ford logo change? Let's see. Ford logo. Let's give that a gander. No, you know, that's been that way a while for me, open. Ironically, that looks more like how I remember it there, but with less fancy F's. Look at that one. Where did that one come from? Oh, it's somebody remembers the Mandela effect. Okay. Haha. Yeah, I don't remember all the curlies, but the rest of it looks about right. All right, so yeah, that open O's been there a while. The only thing I would say right now I see different is this D has a little lip right here. Let me see if I can get this one to be bigger. Look right there. It's kind of hard to see, but this D curls around and there is a tiny lump right there. Like maybe the D is peeling off of its backing right there. I do not remember that at all. And it's sticking out. I've looked at this enough times that... And also, right here where this connects, you can see a little bit of a curl back right there. Those are 2 new things I don't remember seeing. Let me just see if they're on everything. They're not on that one. See, I see it on that one. I see it on that one. I see it here. I see it there. This one has it up there. I could see myself maybe not seeing this one, but I definitely noticed this one. It's on there. So I would say that is it's not on that one, but it is on a lot of these, and I have looked at this a lot of times. See, now look here. So I'm suspicious about that. It's not on all of them, but you know, I have looked at these so many times now that I'm very suspicious of that. Anyways, okay, so that's the change I notice. Looks like a U now. Yeah, that's maybe you're new to this timeline, but that for me, that the O looks like a U has been there a while, at least a couple of months. There was an X-Files episode about the Mandela effect. Yep. And I know, yes, they are making a movie. I know a lot of people hated that X-Files episode, but I actually thought it could have been a lot worse. Seems like everything is becoming aggressive. I would agree with you. Yeah, there's just a lot more a lot more just angry people getting angry about small things. Keokuk Monte, you remember Catalina just being Catalina. Yeah. I don't think anybody remembers it as Santa Catalina. Yep, Belinda remembers it. No, Santa. That I was joking that we got a Santa for Christmas because it was just a little bit before. I guess that was a whole year ago. You know, that's another thing. I swear this year is even faster than last year. I mean, time is really going fast now. It's just getting ridiculous. I mean, the weeks go by so quick. I used to be complaining about the days, but now it's like it's hardly even been a day and a week has already passed. It's making me crazy. Now the O looks different to me. There's a slight gap on top, looks like a U. Yeah, that's the old one. Pygmy elephants, buffaloes, and rhinos. Oh, they have pygmy rhinos. Let's see. I'm trying to remember if I saw that one. There's so many new ones. It's just really getting hard. Oh, come on. The only Asian rhino with 2 horns. All right, let's see how small they are. The smallest of the rhinos. Doesn't really say how big they are. They're only 3 to 5 feet. Well, it's still pretty big, but yeah, it's kind of tiny for a rhino. Let's see, pygmy buffaloes. I don't think I'm sure I have not heard of pygmy buffaloes. Pygmy buffaloes. Oh, from India. Okay, so some kind of water buffalo thing. Tamaraw. Yeah, these look pretty tiny. Yeah, there's just so many things. I think there's like pygmy versions of everything now and giant versions. All right, let's see, where are we? Yeah, they're not the mock killer whales. They're not the false killer whales. There's a whole bunch of different some and such killing whales now. Anyone ever wonder if CERN is involved with the phenomena? Yeah, that one has been hashed over quite a bit. It's kind of an old theory. If you don't know about it, Artastic Creations, look up the video "Happy with CERN." No, we're happy at CERN. That's the video, "Happy at CERN," and it's a goofy dance song with all the CERN people in it. At one point, a guy is wearing a sign that says Mandela on it, and so people are wondering if he's taking credit for the Mandela, but Mandela Effect was already out before that video was made, so it could be that he was just mocking it or trying to be silly. So it's not, the total smoking gun, but it is very interesting. And when that video came out, I mean, people just went kind of ballistic. That was, I think, about 2 years ago, a little bit longer maybe. Sun was bigger today. The Large Hadron Collider on Long Island looks bigger. Yeah, darn, I don't know how big it was before. I thought it was just the Fax Man. Just the Fax. It's okay. That's an interesting one. I'll go over that one. Dark Wolf's Den. Yeah, Hadron used to be Haldron for Dark Wolf's Den. I'd mentioned that before. If it was the same for me. It was Haldron. It's actually, I have to make a little bit of an effort to say Hadron. How big is the one on Long Island? I don't know the size of those. Oh, I can't help you on that one. Yes, it used to be Haldron. I'm glad a lot of other people remember that. That was quite some time ago before I learned about the ME that it suddenly became Hadron. And so I assumed I remembered wrong. But then after I learned of the ME and I brought it up here, and a lot of other people remember the same. Okay, so I just noticed a lot. There's been a number more of movie saying changes. This is how I remember it. I remember it as nothing but the facts, ma'am, said Dragnet Sergeant Joe Friday. So this person here on MissSalPage.com remembers the same, nothing but the facts, ma'am, and apparently was posted a video where supposedly Friday says nothing but the facts, ma'am, but the video is unavailable. It's gone. So I don't think you'll find the video because in this timeline apparently he never said that. But I just found this kind of by accident when I was looking up the story here. But what they're saying now, of course, is a famous misquote, and everybody misquotes it. But another thing that's weird is that the misquote here is Joe Friday never said, just the facts, ma'am. Now, I remember nothing but the facts, ma'am. So I just thought it was interesting that this exact same thing I remember, which is supposedly not the famous misquote and was never said in the movie and is not a misquote, but is remembered by this person here who tried to put up a video about it and assumedly once had a video up about it. So apparently now, just the facts, ma'am, is just a misquote. Let's pull this up. Did Dragnet Sergeant Joe Friday character frequently implore female excuse me, female informants to provide just the facts, ma'am? Let's see if I can get the short version of this. Our language is replete with famous phrases of historic literary characters who never uttered the words. And then there's a whole bunch. Marie Antoinette never said, let them eat cake. Oh, this is a new one. I mean, I read that in my history book that she said that. I spent a lot of time trying to understand why she would say that. In my history book, they said that the word cake, she probably meant bread. And that she didn't mean it meanly, is what I was taught in my history books back then. Apparently in this timeline she never said it, but it was in my history books. Okay, Cary Grant never said Judy, Judy, Judy. I don't really know that one well, so it doesn't mean a lot to me. Sherlock Holmes never said elementary, my dear Watson. That one has been covered by other Mandela people. Sometimes the phrases are made up out of whole cloth. I've never even heard that saying. And sometimes they're corruptions. That was actually something that was actually said. Just the facts, ma'am, is a case of the latter. So I guess it was a corruption. All we want are the facts, ma'am, is what was said. All we know are the facts, ma'am. Freeburg's Little Blue Riding Hood spoof changed the line slightly, and it was Freeburg's alteration, rather than anything Joe Friday said, that it would enter the role of immortal catchphrases. Little Blue Riding Hood, White Grandma, what big ears you've got. All the better to get the facts. I just want to get the facts, ma'am. I've never seen any of this spoof. I've never heard even this version. For me, it was nothing but the facts, ma'am. Anyway, so just another example of the million phrases that apparently never existed. Here's another one. Al Gore. This one's kind of famous. I am sure you've all heard, and I'm sure certain political affiliations have had fun making fun of Al Gore saying, "I invented the internet." Well, apparently he never said, "I invented the internet." I just found this one, and I think this one changed recently. Now, when he said it in my timeline, he did not actually mean that he personally invented it, but of course, it sounded really hilarious, and as a 10-second news bite, it was a perfect thing to make fun of people. But in my timeline, he really did say, "I invented the internet." Now, in this timeline, he said something different. He said, "I took the initiative in creating the internet," meaning that he was involved and pushed for the creation of the internet. But in my timeline, he really said, "I invented the internet." So very interesting. I mean, he didn't mean it literally, that he had literally sat down and invented it, but he did say those words. In this timeline, he did not say those words. Okay, see what you guys are up to here. So, Keokuk Money remembers just the facts, man. Well, yeah, it does sound like ma'am, but it does sound like man, but it was ma'am. He was supposed to say it to women when women were yammering on, and he just wanted the facts. But, yeah, he never said that. He didn't say my version nor your version now. Remember when Google Earth went to pyramids? I'm not sure what you mean by that. I remember just the facts, ma'am. Nothing but the facts, ma'am. Yeah, none of it was said now. Just the facts, that's how I remember it. Have you ever had a Wish sandwich? I'm sorry, I don't know what we're talking about on that one either. Autocorrect is run by Satan and CERN. Yeah, well, I've been mad at it enough times. And it kind of sneakily corrects it after you've finished typing. So you don't always know it's changed, and then you don't always know that you wrote something ridiculous thanks to autocorrect. Sherlock says it once in the series on Netflix. Willie Nelson doesn't say "you were always on my mind" anymore. Let's see. Let's try that one. We're always on my... It better be mind. Always on my mind. Yeah, it's still "you were always on my mind." That's what it was for me. Wait, it's not were anymore? No, it's still were. It was were for me. You were always on my mind. You were always on my mind. Yes, that's how it was for me. So that would be no change for me on that one. I mean, timelines vary, so who knows, but... Some people have been experiencing the Mandela effect for as long as since the 40s or 50s. An interesting thought, maybe they had the CERN tech a lot further back than where the public is aware. Yeah, or maybe just CERN has nothing to do with it. I suspect this may be how reality works. Because CERN is pretty new for me. That was just around like the aughts, or maybe, I mean, it's not before the 90s for me. In this timeline, they invented the internet, or they invented World Wide Web. But in my timeline, they weren't even there. That was just the military plus some scientists. But it wasn't CERN scientists. It was just private scientists that were involved, and that was it. CERN was not involved in the invention of the World Wide Web for me. So, yeah, I suspect that we're just in some kind of, I don't know, speeding up or something. You know, time is faster, changes are faster. There's something going on, but I personally don't think it's CERN. I mean, I certainly can't rule it out. It's just an opinion. I thought he said he coined the phrase information superhighway. You know, I don't remember that specifically. They pushed the date of the origins of CERN back to the 50s. Yeah, they weren't even around in the 80s for me. Steve Wozniak said that Gore was there on the team. Yeah, I never had heard that until recently, so I'm a little suspicious of that. But was feeling bad on every possible level lately. Heart's truth. Yeah, you probably heard me sneezing a lot last week. The next day I got a pretty nasty flu, and I had it for like 3 days, and then Sunday I felt okay. So the last few days I felt okay, but my voice is still kind of messed up. I think I've kicked the germs down, but it's just taking a while to get all the congestion back out of my system. It was a pretty nasty little flu. I kind of wonder if, you get the flu, you're gone 3 days, not paying attention, and then everything looks different. I mean, I think we shifted. You got to wonder about sickness sometimes, what it really is. I feel like I have a cold started next day after Eva said. I hope I'm not getting a cold. I kind of knew I was getting a cold on Wednesday. I don't sneeze that much. But sometimes I'll almost get it and I won't get it. Like it'll just almost get me and then I'll dodge it. But I didn't. I didn't dodge that one. I hate to admit I have a cold unless I have to, though. It's like I still hold out hope till the last that I won't have one. There have been cases of people crossing dimensions like the man from Torrid or the green children long before CERN. Makes you scratch your head. Yeah, I'll tell you, the green children, that's a really new story for me. The man from Torrid was about 4 years ago I saw. I'd never heard of it before then. That Torrid thing kicked in a little bit before the Mandela effect kicked in. I feel like I'm congested, hacking it up. Yeah, that one, it kind of started up in the nose, then it went to throat, and then I had kind of kicked it back, but then it went in my lungs for a while. It was really trying to dig in. Time is definitely speeding up. Yeah, definitely, I think so. I don't think it's coincidence everyone's getting cold symptoms at the same time. Yeah, I'm starting to wonder if it's just, maybe it's a shift, a really hard one that we didn't do well, or we had to change a lot of things. My knees are all messed up too, and there's no real reason for that. I haven't been overdoing it, sports. I'll tell you another thing about the knees, and I experienced this about a year ago, and I'm feeling it again, is when I walk, it just seems a little bit different. Like I'm just not used to how everything is strung together. I just feel like the walking is not as smooth as it normally is for me. I think there's stuff shifting around in the knees for sure, and maybe the hips. And when that happens a lot, I kind of just feel that I just, don't feel like normal walking. It's just a little bit, I don't know, a herky jerk or a little bit raggedy or something. There's something a little off about the walking. Also, I'm wondering if when you're partway through a shift, I mean, there's got to be a period when the layout of the body is even worse than before until it gets to the final stage. There's probably intermediary times when the layout is really less than ideal. That's my suspicion anyway. Thing about dreams is I've been realizing they're dreams while in the dream now. Yeah, that like false awakening and you dream you're dreaming. I've had that before. Actually, that's pretty old phenomena for me. I used to be really heavy into the whole dreams and lucid dreams and out of body things. That was actually the first thing I ever was interested in that was kind of a weird thing. I was pretty straight shooter before that. I think the cold flu symptoms reflect body changes like phantom pains with missing limbs. I'm starting to get suspicious about illness. Exactly what is it? It may not be exactly what we always assumed. I mean, it's just an idea I'm floating around with, but some animals have gotten more violent. Other animals are actually more peaceful and getting along with people. Alligators seem like they're less violent. They used to just be bloodthirsty and they'd eat anything. But now they protect their young. They have mating rituals. I've seen a lot of images where people have pet gators and they swim with them. Never would have had that before. But then a lot of other animals are really getting aggressive. But a lot of wild animals are sometimes getting really friendly with humans too. But I don't know. There's just a lot of complicated behavior. I think for me, the worst, ironically, is so many animals are like peeing and pooping on themselves and scent marking on themselves and on each other. It's gross. I swear I can handle the violence more than grossness. And there's so many animals doing that now. A lot of the new animals and even some of the old animals are saying do that. No animal used to piss all over itself before. That was a cleanliness issue. And elephants did not used to just leak disgusting, stinky stuff. 20 years ago, that whole thing was not as in the storyline. It's just gross. I don't want to hear any more new animals that are pooping on themselves and stuff. First self-powered flight, 1848. Yeah, I think I mentioned that last week. Yeah, the steam engine one. That was last week's subject. KSP Crafter. I've had lifelong panic attacks, dizzy spells, blackouts, suspect previous shifts. I don't, you just got to, I don't really get those. So that's something that you'd have to explore because I can't have too much of an opinion on something I haven't experienced. QP, oh yeah, alligators, they protect their young now. Some of the crocs do. They don't eat them. In my timeline, if they just laid their eggs and they bailed, and the eggs hatched on their own, and if the mother saw the eggs later, she might just eat them if she saw like the little babies. That doesn't happen anymore. Dogs roll in poop. Okay, all right. I agree with you there. That's one thing dogs did, but not super often. And mine have never rolled in poop. they've rolled a few times in other stuff, but not poop. Yeah, like goats. Goats pee on each other. There's a couple other things that I've been. Oh, those what are those giant those not spoon bill, the shoe bills. The shoe bills. They piss all over their feet, and they're saying that's to keep their body temperature down. Ugh, there's always some kind of lame excuse. It's either mating or body temperature or something. But you know what? They didn't do that in the old timeline. Pigs rolled in their own filth. Well, I remember pigs rolling in like the mud wallows. I don't remember where they pooped, but it was more of an accident. I don't remember pigs going, "Oh, there's some poop. I really want to roll in it." Anyway, I don't remember goats pissing on themselves, and I don't remember, well, what can I say about shoe bills? I can't say I don't remember them doing something because I don't remember them existing. Exactly. All right, so let's see. Al Gore no longer invented the internet. Here's another one. Sarah Palin. Here's for the other political side. Can have their yayas. For me, she said, I can see Russia from here. In this timeline, she never said it, but the false memory saying here is, you can see Russia from my house. That's not what she said. She said, I can see Russia from here in my timeline. And everybody made fun of her like crazy because you could not see Russia from Canada then or from Alaska then. You couldn't see it. But now you can. So it is no longer a stupid statement. I mean, it's kind of stupid because implying that you know about international relationships and politics because you can see a country from your country is still kind of silly, but it is a lot less silly if you actually at least can see the place from there. You can see Russia from there now. You didn't used to. So here it is. Let me check up what she used to. She actually said, Sarah Palin. Did Sarah Palin say, I can see Russia from my house? You can see I was trying to look up, I can see Russia from here, but it's nowhere. She never said that. That line originated with an SNL spoof. No, it didn't. She said that. Okay, here's more talk about how we remember everything wrong. There's that Judy example again. I mean, is that brand new or what? I have not heard that as a Mandela effect yet. But apparently, they're really shopping that around. Never said, come with me to the Casbah. So there's another one. I have not heard that one yet as a Mandela. Charles Boyer never said, come with me to the Casbah. There's not going to be anything left. We're all just going to have imaginary lines at the rate we're going. Neither man ever delivered such a line in any of his roles. All right, there's Elementary, my dear Watson. It's funny how they have to just go into this whole paragraph that's completely off the main tangent before they even get to the point here. They're really trying to shop it that you don't know anything. All right. I can see Russia from my house, even though she didn't actually utter that phrase during the campaign. The basis for the line was Governor Palin's September appearance on ABC News. Charles Gibson asked her what insight she had gained from living so close to Russia. That's not how I remember it at all. I remember they're basically challenging her about her lack of experience in foreign relations, and she countered with, well, I can see Russia from my house. But apparently here they're asking her what she had gained from living so close to Russia, which is a closer question. And she responded, They're our next door neighbors, and you can actually see Russia from land here in Alaska, from an island in Alaska. So that's an intelligent response in this timeline. That's not what she said in my timeline, though. So just weird. In other words, she definitely said, I can see Russia from here in my timeline. All right, this one is, I am not as strong on this one, but since it's another famous misquote, I'm pretty much betting that it used to be in there, although I can't swear personally. This one, I have some vague recollection of somebody maybe mentioning this as a Mandela, but I ran into it, so. We don't need no stinking badges. I heard this all the time. Badges, we don't need no stinking badges. This is a joke that everybody uses, but I have to say that I never really watched or read The Treasure of the Sierra Madre. But apparently this was never said. It's a misquote. Let's see if we can find the scene here. Dobbs says skeptically of that claim, if you are the police, where are your badges? And the bandit leader replies, badges to goddamned hell with badges. We have no badges. In fact, we don't need badges. I don't have to show you any stinking badges, you blah blah cabron, you blah 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 to Madre. So apparently it wasn't said really, but I suspect that originally it was said. All right, let's see. Okay, here's another one. This one, just kind of a weird little thing. This is by Keill1 again, Keill1, the commenter that found the earlier one. And he mentioned this rattlesnake dancing in a tree. Apparently this has gone viral, published on September 7th, so just a little while ago. So there's this rattlesnake way up in this tree, and it's basically waving its head around. And Keill noticed the same thing I noticed. I live in rattlesnake country. Rattlesnakes did not used to climb trees. I mean, I know some snakes in South America climb trees. There's a lot of tree snakes, but rattlesnakes didn't do it. And this one kind of ties in with another Mandela for my neighborhood. Is we used to have this cicada that sounded like a rattlesnake, really close to a rattlesnake. And the one reason I would know for sure that it was a cicada, not a rattlesnake, is the cicadas would be up in the trees. And so I'd be like, wait, it's way up there. It's definitely not a rattlesnake. There was no rattlesnakes in the trees. But apparently now, and I have heard a couple mentions of rattlesnakes in the trees until before this one also. But so here's a rattlesnake way up in this tree waving its head around. I'm just going to play a little clip of it. He just acts weird up there. It pretty much does that the whole time, but this is one that I might get a copyright strike on, so I don't want to go crazy on this one. Was scouting in my New Mexico mountains for my upcoming deer hunt and seeing this rattlesnake in a tree, which is not common around here or for them. Well, yeah, I agree with you. I've never heard of it or seen it until just this last couple weeks. I'm glad I caught this on film or no one would believe me. See, it's licensed by storyful.com. So anyways, yeah, no, I don't think so. They didn't go up trees. And that's way up the tree. It's not just in the crook. Carbon dating, it's a reset. That's a big change. Oxygen. Yes, I believe I covered that one. Carbon dating can't be trusted now, they're saying. I'm not sure if I covered it or it was just in retcon. I've definitely covered a lot of... They're basically walking back on just about every fact that we've ever been taught. Either they just Mandela change or they're saying, oh, it was always wrong. Climate records from a Japanese lake are providing more accurate timeline for dating objects as far back as 50,000 years. There's those creepy skulls. Climate records are set to improve the accuracy of the dating technique, which could help shed light on archaeological mysteries, such as why Neanderthals became extinct. The technique hinges on carbon-14. Decays at a steady rate. All right, so what's the problem with it they're claiming here? But that assumes the amount of carbon-14 in the atmosphere was constant. Any variation would speed up or slow down the clock. The clock was initially calibrated by dating objects of known age, such as Egyptian mummies, and bread from Pompeii. Work that won Willard Libby the 1960 Nobel Prize in Chemistry. But even he realized there would probably be variation. Okay, so they're probably going to say that they had it a bit off, would be my bet. So that will further account for anything that you remember differently than what they're currently saying, which is, of course, very convenient. The recalibrated clock won't force archaeologists to abandon old measurements wholesale, but it could help narrow the window of key events. Yeah, okay, so interesting. So they're not going super far with it. They're basically saying it's going to make it more accurate. Dark will send, wait, flying snakes, that's it, I quit, I'm done. Wait, we had flying snakes for a while, but they're gliders. I think you've seen those. The thing is, these are rattlesnakes, and they're by my house, so I don't like that. I mean, anything in New Mexico could be here, so as far as rattlesnakes are concerned. I'm probably the only one left that watches TV, dag nam. Yeah, you might be. I watch it once in a while, but mostly I watch it now for the nature shows to see what's going on with MEs. Yeah, I'm not real happy to see rattlesnakes in the trees. You know, we used to walk, you'd look down for rattlesnakes. Anyone seen the story of the red heifer being born in Israel? Yeah, that one's all tied up with that end times prophecy. Now, last I read, we already had the red heifers, and the only thing we needed to do was breed one that had no, like, it had to have all red hair. We have red hair ones, but it had to be, like, there couldn't be any other color hairs. So although we have the heifers, it had to have perfect hair. And so somebody was working on breeding those. Now, originally, years and years and years ago, it was in the Bible about these red heifers, and we didn't have any red heifers. Now, the Mandela has provided that a red heifer breed now exists. So, the Mandela got us 2/3 of the way, and supposedly, last I heard, about 8 months ago, they were breeding for the red heifer needed to do that ceremony in Israel, which is supposed to be something that happens just before the end times. All right, so they've got the red heifer. First red heifer born in Israel for 2,000 years triggers Armageddon fears after Christian and Jewish holy books say it will bring the end of the world. That's interesting. Last I heard they were just going to breed for it. They were getting ready. If the female baby cow is found to be blemish-free, the institute will declare that the calf brings the promise of reinstating biblical purity to the world. Interesting. I'll be interesting to see how this goes. The red heifer was a cow brought to priests for sacrifice in the Hebrew Bible. Yeah, that's what it was. They needed that for the sacrifice. Jewish and Christian fundamentalists believe that once a red heifer is born, they will be able to rebuild the third temple on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. All right, they're already planning. They already have plans to build this. They already picked out the priests that would do the sacrifice, last I checked. But in order to do this, they would have to demolish what stands on the hill today, the Dome of the Rock. In the mainstream Orthodox Judaism, the temple is rebuilt. The world will welcome the coming of the Jewish Messiah. Humanity will then face the day of judgment. Everyone who is moral and believed in God will have privilege having their name written. And it's all cut off there, so I'm just kind of guessing some of that. So yeah, all more. It's interesting how many things in the Bible are actually coming to pass in one way or another, not always the way that we assumed. I mean, it used to talk about, land masses moving and waters flooding the lands, and we all assumed that that would be some kind of horrible disaster. But the Mandela has shown us that that can happen and not be a horrible disaster. At least it does not from our perspective. So it's come. A lot of these things are coming to pass, but just not in the way that I would have thought. All the new ancient man. I know they keep changing the past, that there are more versions of humans. They go back further. I don't know if you had anyone specific in mind, or any specific details you wanted me to check up, though. OMG. I've heard cicadas this year that sound crazy, like tiny angry motorcycle sounds. I'm outside a lot at night and it freaks me out. I've never heard them sound like that. My cicadas, I kind of call them the rattlesnake cicadas. I have suddenly, the last 2-3 years, I have not heard a single one. They are gone. We've gotten a bunch of fuzzy caterpillars, but we don't have any more of the cicadas. I have hardly even seen any rattlesnakes, to be honest. A few, but not many. Now the birds there's some new bird noises, some more bright, colorful birds, and the crows have some new sounds that they make now. They look a little different to me, the crows, too. A little bit bigger, the head shape. There's a little bit of a difference. The Temple Mount is not the site of the temple, Ms. J. Where is it? I'm not a super expert on that one. I just thought they had to build the third temple and make the sacrifice in there. I think Jerusalem had to be the capital, and then the Mandela kind of provided that. So those things are coming true in weird ways. Caleb Sorrell says he saw it all before. Oh, okay, interesting. Yeah, not for me. This is still, I knew they were working on the red heifers, but I did not see them having actually picked one out. And they built the third temple or are building it. As far as I know, they have plans and they're set up to build it, but they had not started building it. Let me just check that. So they had to build it, and they needed a priest to do the sacrifice of the red heifer. And the temple, to be a temple, does not have to be super fancy or anything. It's not like you had to spend 10 years building it. It can be just a real simple thing. So, plans underway for construction. Now, they had this big old fancy layout I saw, but I had not heard that they had actually started it. May 30th, 2017. That sounds about right from when I was reading this. It would be hard, I think, not to see what's happened in the past 50 years as tremendous fulfillment of prophecy, but a tremendous jump start. A tremendous fast forward. It's more than prophetic. It's like a kiss from heaven. It's like a divine kiss. The Institute is already working on blueprints for the new temple. There are members of the Knesset that actually talk about the rebuilding the Holy Temple. Do you realize that 20 years ago these people wouldn't have been given a moment on primetime television to say these things? They would have been laughed out. All right, well, it doesn't look like they're building it yet. They've lined up some stuff. Okay, update on the building of the third temple. After Trump's Jerusalem declaration, next step is third temple. See, now what I remember is Jerusalem had to be the capital, and it wasn't. So what are the chances that a red heifer is going to be born and Jerusalem is going to be the capital? But suddenly, Jerusalem had been the capital, but we had just not officially recognized it. So the Mandela kind of made it the capital. And then Trump just said, we recognize it. So it's kind of a Trump plus ME thing now that Jerusalem is kind of the capital. And suddenly the Mandela made these red heifers. So, update. Let's see what the update is. I haven't heard of anything going on since last year, though. All right, so in those days and at that time I will cause a righteous branch of David to spring forth, and he shall execute justice and righteousness on the earth. In those days Judah shall be saved, and Jerusalem shall dwell in safety. And this is the name by which we shall be called. The Lord is our righteousness, for thus say the Lord. David shall never lack a man to sit on the throne of the house of Israel, and the Levitical priest shall never lack a man before me to offer burnt offerings, to burn grain offerings, and to prepare sacrifices continually. Okay, that's not super Mandela related. All right, so they're just talking about the importance of it. Okay, it does not sound like they have put one brick in place or know where they would put it. Dark will stand 1 hour mark. Thank you. Whoops, dang it. Temple Mount, a site of old forts. Well, you know, the Mandela keeps shifting stuff around, so I'm sure that the Mandela will be able to sort out where that temple's supposed to go. Oh, Artastic. I'm glad you mentioned that. A lot of people don't remember Belarus being a country, but now it is one. Yes. You know what? I almost brought that up, but I wasn't 100% sure. I remember there being a Belarus, but not as a country. And it's huge. I was just looking at Google Earth the other day, and Europe is just so weird, but I really, really thought about whether I wanted to say that or not. I just wasn't sure enough. But if now that you bring it up, I feel very brave. And it's next to freaking Poland, too. And, like, I'm part Polish, so I used to really keep an eye on Poland. And Poland was not freaking coastal, and it was not next to Belarus. And I've just never heard of Belarus as a freaking country. Okay, here we go. Ukraine is massively, ridiculously huge now. Belarus, no. I forgot what's in here. I think, is that a little chunk of Russia that's new also? This whole area is ridiculous. The heck, I don't remember Spain, France, Germany, Poland like that. Spain and France was big, and then Germany and Poland were way over here, and they were smaller. Spain and France were the two big countries. Germany and Poland were... France was not next to Germany. It was over here. Yeah, everything is all goofy. Now, for me, this whole area, Norway, Sweden, Finland, was much smaller, and it was right here. And it came up around and touched here. But now it's way over there. It got bigger and bigger and bigger, and then about 6-8 months ago, it jumped over here and got huge. So that's how Germany and Poland were not coastal for me, because Sweden, Finland, Norway were sitting on top of them here. And there was no Belarus. I was looking into the history of that. The thing with Belarus is it was supposedly just made, I think it was in 1991 when it supposedly escaped Russia. And I don't remember a thing about that. But since it's not like really old country, I just could not swear. I could not swear that didn't happen in 1991. I don't think it did, and I just don't remember that ever being a country. And I don't... There was other things next to Poland. Belarus wasn't next to Poland. I don't know. It's a mess. It's a mess. But let's see. What else was I noticing? This whole region here is so much smaller compared to the Mediterranean Sea. This used to be a big, like Europe, and then a small Mediterranean Sea. But it's Europe, I think, that's really shrunk. Italy is really cranked over now. I remember it coming down more straight. It certainly wasn't kicking Sicily like this, and Sicily was way out here and tiny. But I don't... It looks like Europe is all kind of stretched out this way. I remember it being more just straight across, with Italy straight down. But Greece and Bulgaria, they look like they've been pulled down to the south over here. Black Sea is huge. All these seas are huge. Keep an eye on this, because the water here has been just encroaching in here. And this is a very common pattern that we're seeing with the water, like waters joining up and spreading through the mainland inlands. And this is another example. When this segment jumped from over here to over here, this big nub on here was not there. And now you got this river coming in here, or inland sea, or whatever it is. And it's hooking up with these two lakes that are getting bigger. And then here is coming way in. So that's like a really strong pattern we're seeing. So I expect that we'll continue to see that. But yeah, I'm glad you had the nerve. Belarus. I agree with you on Belarus. I don't remember that being a country. I remember it being a location, but not a country. Kazakhstan. That's been around a while. I do not remember it being massive. I think that Kazakhstan probably showed up as a small country and got bigger and bigger. But, I never watched Borat. It's kind of a guy movie. They have it all ready to erect when the time comes. Right, they're ready to roll. They have the priest picked out. They were working on the red heifer last I checked. Maybe they'll find that this one is fine. Do women always had an Adam's apple in your neck? Intrepid delay. That one's kind of an older ME, but basically I remember the Adam's apple as being kind of a different thing. Right now it's basically an enlargement of the cartilage around the larynx area. And so there's no reason why women couldn't have a lot of cartilage there. And that's why I think you're seeing women have more stuff in here. Also, that whole larynx area has really expanded. The Adam's apple in men look different to me as well. The whole shape of it. It used to be kind of a hard ball, like a nut, and it would move a lot when you spoke. But now, no, it's kind of a weird, the shape is just a lot different for me. And the famous ME where Shaggy on Scooby-Doo used to have a Adam's apple. And it was a hard circle that would kind of move as he spoke. And I think that's why he had to suddenly not have that Adam's apple, because Adam's apples are different in this timeline. And the one that he had does not follow with the current anatomy. So I suspect that that's why he doesn't have it anymore. But I do think women have a lot more. I noticed that I do have a lot more going on. It's a bigger area. Women have thicker necks. I had kind of pawned it off to getting old, but then I started looking at the 20-year-olds, and they have it too. I did not used to have that when I was 20. It's the hyoid bone. Everyone should have it. I covered that early in the year. Used to be a hyoid bone for me, and it was a lot smaller. And then before that, like 30 years ago, there was no hyoid bone or hyroid bone. That's kind of a newer thing. It's like about a 10-year-old ME when that showed up, and it was a hyoid bone when it showed up. So is that the story now? Adam's apples are a hyoid bone? Because I just checked into that beginning of the year. And it was thickening cartilage due to male hormones. The projection at the front of the neck formed by the thyroid cartilage of the larynx, often prominent in men. Yeah, it's thyroid cartilage. That's what it was the beginning of the year. I mean, I don't think it was that way 20 years ago. But right now, an Adam's apple is thyroid cartilage. And I do not think that 20 years ago it was a hyoid bone, because that bone did not exist. It was first a hyroid bone, and then before that it didn't exist. So I don't think it was that. See, Belinda says, no, women usually don't have an Adam's apple. But we have thyroid cartilage, so I think that's why you're seeing more bump under there. And just overall, it's harder to tell men from women now. I mean, I used to be very easy for me, very easy. And now there are times that it's fairly common when I'm not sure. That never used to be the case. All right, talking about different spellings. Israel. Yeah, that's interesting. Did Israel used to be spelled Israel? Israel. It sounds like that is real. And then, yeah, I remember always saying it was Israel, which is interesting when you look at it, is real. So now it's Israel. Israel. It does look kind of weird that way, doesn't it? That's not one I can swear to, though, but some of those some of those I remember it changing a long time ago, but there's got to be some that I just didn't catch. Another country that appeared that people don't remember is Andorra. Yeah, I don't remember Andorra. Ah, and Dora has ties with the man from Torrid story. Interesting. Yeah, whole new countries. Just crazy. I'm having connection issues. New guy, new guy. You could try like refreshing your window and rebooting it and see. Sometimes that'll help. Yeah, I noticed Israel changed 2 years ago. Ah, that's interesting. It's it's been Israel because recently in the last few years I made a point of I kind of sound them out so I can spell it, and it was Israel. So it's been that way for a while for me, but I can't swear further back. I mean, it certainly wouldn't surprise me. Israel. Israel is how we always said it. I can't spell anything in this timeline, Don Norton. You know, it keeps flip-flopping too. I'll get the new spelling down and then it'll change, and sometimes it changes backs. Like definitely has definitely changed a number of times. Svalbard was new, yes. And Svalbard was just one island. Now it's a batch of them. When it first showed, it was just one island. Isis Rael, always for me, after the gods. I used to be an excellent speller. Now I misspell stuff all the time. Yeah, it's so hard to keep up with the spelling changes. Yeah, that was one of the things that really was tripping me out about 3 years ago and 2 years ago, before I knew of the ME, is I really, you know, I for years I knew how to spell things. I have my little mental heuristics for remembering some of the words, and then suddenly they weren't working, and so I really had to question my memory on that, because I knew that heuristic for remembering it, and it worked for 40 years, and suddenly it wasn't. And then when I saw that a whole bunch of other people had noticed the same change, I kind of realized what was going on. It was kind of a relief. All right, Belize. No thanks. Belize moved. Used to be on the African continent. It's now across from Guatemala. Not sure on that one. Typical American. I don't know my geography that well. I mean, I'm really good at remembering the names of things, but I'm not always that good at remembering their exact location. What, Cumberbund is not... It doesn't have a B in it anymore? Cumberbund. Are you serious? I remember it like that. Cumberbund. No, it's still Cumberbund. Whoop, wait a minute. Cummerbund? Nuh-uh, it's Cumberbund. Cummerbund or Cumberbund? It was always Cumberbund. That's ridiculous. Cummerbund or Cumberbund. A friend recently asked if Cumberbund was an okay variant of Cummerbund. She had a bet riding on it with her husband. Because Cumberbund and its close cousin Cumberbun are, in my judgment, incorrect, though not uncommon. You will find Cumberbund listed as possible variant in the Merriam-Webster dictionaries, but in no Oxford dictionaries. Interesting, the first quotation we have in English for the word includes the intrusive B and I suspect that historical usage accounts for Merriam-Webster's inclusion. It was freaking cummerbund, people. I've never heard of a cummerbund. I guess they're both ridiculous words, but cummerbund. Whatever. Cummerbund actually is easier than cummerbund, but that was not it. Ugh. Making me crazy. Making me crazy. Wait, who came up with that one? No. Wait, who said it first? What, mayonnaise has 2 S's now and 2 N's? Are you freaking kidding me? No, oh my God. You guys teach me more things than I learn from you. All right, I don't think there's 2 S's yet. 2 N's. Yes, 2 N's, but not 2 S's. I agree with you that extra N is incorrect. It looks really strange. But I had not seen the double S yet. I guess just give it time. Maybe it'll show. All right, let's go through these. Oh, Life Matrix, you are the one who came up with cummerbund. Yeah, to me it did not have the T. No T for me. Cummerbund. Yours is like a bundt cake. Yeah, I agree with you, man. No way. Cummerbund, it sounds so funny. Hoodwink sunfish. All right, let's check out hoodwink sunfish. The sunfishes are all an older ME for me. Came about 5 years ago. They've continued to change. Oh, okay, I think I saw this one. They just found it or something. They all look ridiculous. I think I saw this one mentioned a couple weeks ago. Thrilled, then they uncovered a new sunfish species after a 4-year search. You know, when they first came out, the sunfish was just one kind. Now there's all these kinds. And you almost never saw them. And so that's why when they first came out, I'm like, oh, that must be why I never heard of it, because they're super, super rare. But now their sunfish are on TV like every 5 minutes. It evaded discovery by hiding in a messy history of sunfish taxonomy. There's a whole bunch of stories like this now. There was a giant squid one just recently. The giant squid are actually 2 kinds, and how did we not notice? See if I can find that one again. Maybe it was 2 kinds of colossal squid. There was one where, I'm pretty sure it was giant squid, though. Anyway, there was one that was something like that, where they just said, oh, we just realized that there's always been 2 species. There's just so much of that now. Hiding in plain sight, hiding in this and that. I'm having an old memory of bar mitzvah being something like bar mitzvah. Not for me. It was always at least pronounced bar mitzvah. So, yes. Hoodwink sunfish. Sunfish, all the sunfish are new to me. I'm going to look at the original one here. What's that one? There's so many kinds now. Okay, when they first, I think this is the original one. It did not have this line here when it first came out, and it was not pinched in as much like that. It was more kind of rounded. It did not have this indentation here with this weird fin thing. They're definitely looking weirder. There's so many kinds of them now. This new one that you just mentioned is even weirder because it has even less back to it. This one has something, but this one, it just looks like it's, it doesn't look like a whole body. Just weird. See, the older one has more material in the back area. See how it's all frilly now here. It didn't used to be like that. Looks like they're pretty wrinkly now too. They're going the way of the belugas. Looks like they're getting really kind of wrinkly and floppy. Just had to click on that. It comes from the German word Kummer, so I don't see why it'd be Cumber. I just, who knows why, but it was Cumber. A lot of Mandelas don't make sense. Sometimes they make more sense the old way. Sometimes they make more sense the new way. Meatloaf died a half a year ago. Now he's alive. Okay, I'm terrible at the dead people because I just don't pay any attention to the stars. So, I mean, like if Ronald Reagan came back to life, I'd notice it. But for most of these, no. How do Americans change the English language? Shouldn't the English do that? All languages change all the time, supposedly, according to scientists. So we have our version of English. I did not know that Pokemon seem to have a few MEs. Most people only know the main one, where what's that yellow guy doesn't have his black tail tip anymore. But I've heard that there's other ones. I just didn't know the Pokédex at all, so I really don't know the other Pokemon. All right, so where are we here? Got all those done. Oh, here's another one. I learned this so many times, and I checked it because it was kind of ridiculous sounding, but there was a whole story on it. But Einstein failed math. That's what I learned. I even researched it because I was curious how he failed it. They said in part that he failed it because he just wasn't interested in it and he was too busy off doing his own thing versus doing his homework and paying attention in class. And there was a whole long story about that, and that he was more into theory, and he wasn't really good at the nuts and bolts aspects of it, and his genius lay in theory. All this story. Well, apparently now he never failed math. So he was a good student now. Let's see. Let me find that. There are also commonly held aspects of his childhood and education that seem to conflict with the broad genius that he was. That he was a lazy child, that he had a bad student who flunked math, that he had a learning disability. How much of this is true? Was he a bad student? Not talented. He hated strict protocols. By age 11, he was reading college physics books, and at 13, he decided that Kant was his favorite author. Did he flunk math? He did fine in math, but he did flunk the entrance exam to Zurich Polytechnic when he first took it because it was in French. Okay, that's not the story. I heard he almost flunks math. He did really bad at math, and it was because he never paid attention. He wasn't in class. But I guess, and that he wasn't good at the nuts and bolts. He did fine on the math section, but failed the language. Huh. Okay, so Einstein was not bad at math in this timeline. Some people misremember exotic animals with Mandela effects, not saying Eva, but other people. You just can't say what is an ME for other people. So you don't know. They could be misremembering, or maybe that thing was not in their timeline. Like, there was no narwhals for me, I'm sure of it. But There are people who see some Mandelas but swear that they had narwhals in their timeline. You just don't know. That's why you really can't point fingers in the Mandela effect. There's no one right answer anymore. All my life there was one answer for things, for most things, but there isn't now. All right, so apparently Einstein did good in math now. African, okay. These are just more weird little creatures. I don't know if they're going to be more of a thing in the future, but velvet worms. They don't look like worms is one reason I think they're pretty weird. These are by J. Emblin. A commenter mentioned these. Very weird little colorful different colors of worms. They've got these little nubs that they walk with. They're really kind of cute. Never heard of these things before, but they're everywhere apparently. Look, that one even has little horn things. So just another new weird little guy. Another one that I've been keeping my eye on are the tardigrades. They used to be microscopic, but now they're almost 2 millimeters long, some of them. So they're getting bigger slowly. I mean, 2 millimeters is, you can see those now. And now they're calling them mini animals, stuff like that. They're not just microscopic. They're like mini animals. So keep an eye on those. Look at that one. Look at that thing. Oh, it's a clay sculpture. Okay, freaking me out. So anyways, they're getting bigger and bigger. And there's millions of kinds of them. When they first came out, there was just one kind. So I think we're going to see a lot more of the tardigrades. I think they're like 1.5 millimeter, almost 2 millimeter. I've seen them say 2 millimeter, and then I went back and it said 1.5 millimeter. Let's see. All right, Scott, you are now a moderator. So you can take care of stuff. Scott Balo, who are you gonna delete? I don't see anybody. I mean, if everybody's behaving, just leave it. All right, anyway. Did he even post anything? I didn't see anything. I'm confused. All right, I'm leaving it to you guys because I don't know what's going on. What is the wrench? Wrench just means that he wanted me to give him mod status so he could do some moderator thing. Because basically I'm up here yapping away and I don't know what's going on the chat. So people who are on the chat can kind of make sure that other people on the chat are behaving. There's some known troublemaker people, so he might have been after one of those. Because there's people that could be on that haven't even posted yet. All right, so where are we? All right, so Einstein never failed math. We've got velvet worms. Okay, this one is weird. This is from Jay Emblin, who posted on my comments again. Jay Emblin finds a lot of stuff. Let's see. This one is called the Lazarus sign. I don't know, have you ever, any of you ever heard of this? I mean, I have to say that I'm kind of into morbid, creepy stuff. And I even have kind of researched like the moment before death because I'm really curious about it. And I have never heard of this. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of this. It's weird. All right. So apparently now, right before people die, they sometimes pull up their arms all weird. Like, so they move it in like the way that they lay them in when they're mummies. And it's supposed to be a spinal reflex. Right at brain death. I've never heard of this thing. So,
Voila.
sorry, this is kind of creepy.
Isso.
See there? That
Muito
person
bem.
just died. I'm sorry, it's kind of creepy.
Tá violento.
I should close that, but so basically it's this movement here that is supposed to be supposedly it's right when you do it right before death. Not always, but that's Lazarus sign. Never heard of that. And it's crazy. That's just crazy. I mean, that's just I don't know what to say. Anyways, all I'm saying is no, I didn't have that. But the spine's so different. Everything's so different now. Check out the rate in which Tesla patented things. That whole Tesla story kind of came out of the woodwork for me. I'm really suspicious of the entire Tesla thing. There are so many things here that were just almost rumor for me originally, like 15 years ago. And that whole Tesla thing, I mean, there was so little on him originally for me. And way back, I'd never even heard about him. Then it was just the little bit. And now it's Tesla. It's kind of freaks me out. And there's more and more things that he supposedly did that I don't think that it was in my timeline. And, Tesla's very interesting story. So that's the kind of thing I'm interested in. But, yeah, the things he did, it's like the whole story was growing. All right, so Tesla, Lazarus sign, got Rizzo's dolphin, got all those. Wait, am I missing any? Got that one. All right, let's see what we have in the back here. Got that one. All right. Oh, there's some out here that I haven't even touched yet. All right. This one comes from Kyokuk Monty. Yes, I agree with you. This weird, they have these scarab beetles that are like all silver or all gold. And the Rudeline genus. Never heard of those. They did not have those. I actually do sell some beetles and some weird stuff through my store because I sell natural items. And I have researched scarab beetles as late as about 2 years ago to see what kinds there were. And these were not there. Not at all. Very interesting. The majority of the species are bright green, but metallic silver and gold are also common colors and may combine with green. So apparently they've got, they just look like metal. They look fake. They've got the silver horses. I guess we've got the silver scarab beetles. Scarab beetles sell pretty good because just the word scarab and then the whole Egyptian thing is so popular. Tesla was suppressed back on Sagittarius, but seems to be credited here. Yeah, I just don't know on some of these. I mean, was he suppressed or he just wasn't there? I mean, you can't really tell. I mean, they had info on him. His method of death has changed according to many. I'm not sure on that one myself, but... Tesla made a robot that terrorized a town. That would definitely be a new one for me. Let's see how much info on that. Okay, we need to get rid of the Elon Musk one. Nikola. Can't remember if it's Nikola still. All right. We'll get out the terrorized. Let's just get robot and see what we can get. And the beginning of robotics. First to demonstrate robotics. Tesla's toy boat, a drone before its time. Yeah, see, all of these are just new stories. I have not heard of these. All right, let's see what we've got for demonstrate robotics. See if that'll load. Wireless radio experimentation. Yeah, no, see, that's all just new. How wireless technology could be used to command ships and missiles from a distance. 1898. 1898 wireless tech, huh? Yeah, no. No, to me, that's just more tech before its time. All right, I wanted to get into Statue of Liberty a little bit. This one is from Esther Anders. I do agree. I noticed this one right away when she said hair. I have looked at the hair a number of times on here. I'm talking about the split here. I didn't remember this word split. And then later I said that it was very smooth for a while, and now it's got the ziggy lines. Well, now it's kind of like reddish on one side and not on the other. This is very new. The last even week or two ago, it wasn't like this. And Esther also said something about the hair changing. She also said she noticed the big curl, the second big curl on the left, is black on the bottom. So overall, she's just wondering if the hair is changing color. Yeah, this color here with the red is kind of weird. I couldn't quite find that curl. It's hard to get the second big curl on the left. I think she means this one. But it's really hard to find a decent image of that. Now, see this here, this line coming down here, I don't know what that is, but that looks different. There's been a lot of changes just lately. I don't remember this knot here on the clothing either. Look at that. See if I can find another image of it. Look at that. That's different. Look at that knot right there. There was not like that big bundle like that. Looks like a Roman knot or something. That's new. The length here, I swear her neck is kind of long now or something. There's something weird going on with the neck. It's really wide and really long. I mentioned last time about these two lines on the throat. I don't remember that. But since then, and Esther mentioned this, the foot, it's higher every day. It's ridiculous. This stain here has gotten a lot darker since last week. She's really just cranking it now. Somewhere there was some joke about stepping off. There was a joke where Statue of Liberty is about to step off the pedestal, and it was supposed to be a joke, but it kind of flipped me out because it really does look like she's going to step right off of there. If you look from the front, see, that's hair. She just looks different now too. I'm trying to find a decent image of it. There's this dark region here where that foot used to be that's way back now. So you get this really dark area here and just the one foot in the front. So the front looks different. You've got this bundle up here. Let's see, what else did she say? And she also noticed the foot is higher. The foot is higher every week. left leg showing more than I remember. Let's see. Let's just see what we find with foot. I was just looking at this. All right, the chain still broke, so that hasn't changed. All right, there's that foot. What does the other foot look like? Yeah, see, she's really... Her foot's hanging way off the back now. Just weird. See, it's starting to turn to the side now. Now, what's the other foot look like? Now, this is interesting. I'm trying to find... Okay, there it is, way out there. Sometimes when you can't find an image of something, there's something extra weird going on with it. Yeah, look at that. Look at the difference. Before, this foot was right with this chain, too. It was like the chain and the foot was right by it. Now it's way off. All right, there's the front foot. See, it's cutting off. All the images are... I wonder if there's some change happening here. I've noticed that when you can't find an image of something, and it was easy to find before... Something's weird with her little toe, too. I don't remember it like that. If you can't find an image of something that you found easily before, a lot of times that thing is in the midst of changing. It's like it's hidden from you. See, look, I can't find... All right, there. Yeah, see, that... Okay. Remember I said a minute ago that there was like kind of a huge cavity, and this foot is now pushed back in. It's making that cavity region. This used to come straight down, but now the foot is pushed back in. So that's a change from probably than the last week, I would guess. All right, so that's from Esther Anders. Good find, although I added a few things of my own. Got that one. This is an interesting one, just as a new bit of info. Water found in... They're finding water everywhere. Water molecules detected above Jupiter's Great Red Spot. So Jupiter's got water molecules now. Hydrogen and oxygen were found emitting from gas giants' colossal storm, suggesting water-rich clouds exist deep in the atmosphere. Geez, remember when only Earth had water and we would be such rare life forms because none of their water planet was so rare? Well, there's water everywhere now. Water all over Mars. Polar ice caps full of water in Mars. That's wrong. Well, now we've got water on Jupiter, water on the moon. Remember they said water on the moon was impossible. Anyway, that's enough of that rant. Rattlesnake, blah, blah, blah. Okay, one other thing. How is that under a land? All right, this freaking lungfish thing. The amount of survival that these animals can do now, it's ridiculous. And this is a pretty good example. This is a... See if I can get this to show better. Probably not. Basically, they're digging out this dry lake. What's that they found? Now they're going to crack this thing open. It's an easy way to fish. They crack this thing open and there's a freaking lungfish in there and it's alive. Now, how the heck does it have, like, how is it breathing under there? I don't get it. It's not in a torpid state, or at least they grab it and it's, I mean, there's no, it's locked in a cavity of mud, where is the air coming from? It's just a trip. I don't know. There's just so many of these weird things. It's just going to keep repeating now. All right, so we did Statue of Liberty. Anyway, so African lungfish. Now, when I first heard of lungfish, it just meant that they could crawl along the surface a little ways. They could breathe air, and they could crawl along the surface a little ways. Apparently now they can just like go into this weird cocoon, and everything can dry up, and they're fine. Oh, okay, I forgot about this one. This is another thing I've been seeing a lot lately, is this really weird tricks with the nose, jamming things into the nose and stuff. So this guy jams this, I think it's a nail, but he once it's in there, he has a really weird trick. I've never seen quite this much of it before. Supposedly, he's able to stick it in one side, and then by manipulating his upper palate, he's able to move it over to the other side and stick it back out. And that's why he's making that weird noise, supposedly. So I was looking at the nasal cavities. I've seen a lot of images just lately about people sticking things in their nose, way in there. In my old timeline, if you jammed a screwdriver up there, you would be jamming it into your head. I mean, you would be damaging your head really bad. That would be a way to kill somebody. But in this timeline, look at the nasal cavity. It's huge. It goes all the way back. And, you know, the face is down, hanging down, and the brain is way up here now. So it used to be the face would be here and the brain was right behind it. But now the face hangs down so you don't ram into the brain right away. So the nasal cavity is monstrous. So it makes sense that you could put something way back now that you didn't used to be able to do. I'm not sure what's up with all this. Are we going to get a better sense of smell? That's the only thing I can really say. I can say that my nasal cavities do not clog nearly as easily as they used to. I was really sick this last flu, but it didn't get that clogged. It wasn't that uncomfortable. At no point did both sides clog. One side would clog some, but it definitely was nothing like it was in the old days. So maybe that's some of the benefit of having this massive cavity in here. You can see the nasal septum is that split thing right here. So I'm guessing that maybe he was able to get the nail like behind that septum and manipulate it out over to this side and then push it back out. And they're saying that somehow you can learn to manipulate this, maybe by making that weird noise. Anyway, just real weird stuff. He invented wireless electricity in the early 1900s, talking about Tesla. I do remember that beaming of the electricity thing, but I do not remember any remote controls ever associated with Tesla until just now. And I've seen many documentaries on him. At one time, he had only done a few things, so you could easily just learn everything he'd done. Let's see what we got here. I'm starting to feel the shifts too. One thing I noticed, I'm not sure how good this pattern is, but I'm going to keep an eye on it. See if it holds up for you. I feel bad after a shift. I feel tired. I feel run down. When I finally get really recovered and I feel really good, and I'll have a few days when I feel really good, just like I'm going to kick butt, then there'll be a shift. It's like I've saved up all my energy and I have tons of it, and then bam, the shift comes. So that might be an indicator that a shift is going to come soon, is if you feel really good. It seems like that pattern's holding up. Maybe we need that energy recovered and then the shift. Like I said, I'm not going to swear to it right now, but it really does seem like that. Just watch for that pattern. See if you can. Once you feel really good, just kind of keep an eye for the next like 5 days and see what happens. Cause I'm recovering from that cold now, but like I said, it might have been a shift. Maybe a cold is a shift. I don't know. Caught it Friday, started feeling sick a day or two later. Mine was Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then suddenly, it was almost like I kicked it all to the curb on Saturday. Felt tons better on Sunday, tons better. I barely ate anything for those 3 days, so the recovery was actually pretty quick. How do you like to get new info from us over the YouTube comments or per email? I love to get them over the comments, to be honest, because I don't check my email that much. And I go through the comments one by one. I get my paper out, and then I comment on each ones I'm going to, upvote on everything that I'm going to, and then I write down everything that I'm just ready to write down stuff, because I know you guys have a lot of good stuff, so. I wouldn't be surprised if the moon was made of cheese. Ooh, that might be an interesting Mandela. I could just see them spinning it where they say the molecules are similar to some molecules in milk. And technically, it probably tastes a little bit like cheese or something like that. I could just see them making it all scientific sounding. God, that would be a trip. Can you imagine it? I'm just going to type it in just for fun. All right, it's not cheese yet. What if the moon were made of cheese? Does the moon taste like cheese? Nope. Does not appear yet. That would be, we'll know that we're under control. We're controlling the Mandela if we find out that the moon tastes like cheese. That's like so ridiculous sounding that you would have to just really laugh. They need water on the moon to fall in with all the lies. Yeah, well, they've got the water everywhere now. All right, well, we're at like 2 hours now, so I'm going to just check and see where everybody is. Throat killing me. Yeah, Scott Balo, that was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, throat killing me. I actually got this throat spray that has lidocaine in it. If you can get yourself, you probably have to get it online. If you can get lidocaine on your throat, it'll stop hurting. I mean, you're not going to be not sick anymore, but boy, it's a lot easier to sleep when your throat is not hurting. Sometimes just aspirin will do it, but I really love to spot treat with lidocaine. They sell lidocaine throat sprays for other reasons, and you have a sore throat, that's what you want. It's like magic. Lidocaine's my go-to pain reliever. I love lidocaine. It's great for itching too. Anyway, I hope this... my tab crashed. I'm going to go over here and look at it from here. Oh, wait, it's back already. Okay, never mind. I'll look at it on here. This computer, I rebooted like 3 times on my backup computer for the chat. And it finally started working after the 3rd, but I might have to get one really soon because this thing's getting really weak. I am hungry all the time. Yeah, I know. Eat less, gain more. I think, the super long intestines, they might be more efficient now. The days are shorter, so you can't maybe that's part of it. You can't eat as much as you used to eat because you're really not awake that much. The days, I swear, they're just like half as long. So maybe we can only eat half as much. You know, it used to be that I really needed my 3 meals. It seemed like forever between meals, but now it seems like eating 3 meals is ridiculous. I feel like I eat and then 5 seconds later it's lunchtime. A teaspoon of bicarb in a glass of water, you'll either throw up or feel better quickly. Yeah, you know, when I get sick, it's usually up here in the top of the throat. I don't usually have a lot of stomach problems. The sky gets lower and lower. The clouds, I think the clouds are still dropping. I have to agree with you on that one. Planes lower, clouds lower. Not sure about planes. Clouds are definitely lower. I still have a lot of congestion in my lungs. It's weird. I feel pretty good, but the congestion is slow to leave the lungs. Turmeric. Yes, I agree with you. Not turmeric. Clouds are super low in Australia. Yeah, you know, there's a weird story about the clouds. A couple of years ago, my mother passed on, and I was pretty upset. And I didn't know about the ME. That was maybe like 3 years ago, maybe a little longer, maybe more like 4. And I was really upset, and it was winter then, and I was, you know, I had to deal with it, you know, and I was driving around outside going to work and things, and I got this weird claustrophobic feeling from the clouds, and I don't have claustrophobia. I don't have that feeling. So, I mean, it's weird. I knew what it was, but it was just weird that I'm like, the clouds are too low and it's freaking me out. And I'm like, well, this must just be side effects from dealing with my mother's death since it was right after. But I just kept praying that we'd have a day that wasn't cloudy because the clouds were freaking me out. And I just wrote it all off on my own mental, you know, upsetness, and, you know, that I'll just have to get through this period and stuff. But then later I found out that that was an ME, and so I don't know how that's related. I mean, but it was weird that of all things. I mean, there's a million weird little stupid things that I could choose to freak out over. Why would I freak out over the height of the clouds after she died? So, I mean, I wonder, was that a big shift? Had I not noticed before? And so one of the results of that, though, is that after it kind of went away after a while. We had some days without clouds, and I kind of, you know, adapted, and the feeling passed. But, you know, after that, I didn't think about the height of the clouds anymore. I guess I just didn't want to think about it because it reminded me of her death and all this thing. So it's just a whole weird thing with the clouds. I don't even know, but I just thought I would bring it up because I can't even piece it together, but somehow it seems like it might be somehow related to ME, of that one thing of all things I freaked out over. I mean, I was upset, but that was the only irrational freak out feeling I had, was about the clouds. It was just weird. Sunrise is much more beautiful than years before. You know, I'm not a big early riser, but I'll tell you, the sunsets are amazing. And oh, this is one thing I had forgot to mention. I think it was like 2 days ago. The sun set, and it really wasn't a big deal on the side that it was setting, but the other side was spectacular. And that's the first time I've seen it really, really red on the opposite side, but not on the side the sun was going down. So very much the opposite of the old timeline. I've been wanting to try turmeric, thought about getting capsules. You could just sprinkle it on food. It's pretty good. Get some recipes. The only bad thing about turmeric is just don't spill it all over your counter. That stuff really has a strong colorant in it. It's hard to wipe it off. Try not to spill. Stop the cough, slippery elm lozenges. Fantastic, stops cough in 3 seconds. One thing that really helps me is if I don't let myself cough too much to start with. If I take the lidocaine during the pain times and then just don't get too crazy with it. It seems like at some point it's just kind of self-perpetuating. So I just try to drink water and keep it at an even keel to start with. I'll cough a little bit just to clear phlegm, but after that I try to suppress it. If you kind of keep a lid on it early, that seems, at least for me, it helps a ton. All right, well, it's getting late. Lithium in the chemtrails. Yeah, I don't know. The whole chemtrails thing. Chemtrails. Chemtrails perfectly match a pattern of a Mandela effect. When I was young, there were no chemtrails. Then somewhere around the 90s, you would see the trails. People were talking about the trails. But now if you look at the old photos, there were always supposedly chemtrails. So has the government really changed anything in what they put into the chemicals that are coming out of the planes? Or has the atmosphere changed? Has the tech changed? Maybe it was always that way in this timeline. I do not know. I mean, it's not like I trust the government. I certainly don't. But I just don't know if the chemtrails are really some government thing or is it just a Mandela, one of the early Mandelas. I don't know. There's just no way to know. Everybody's claiming all these things, but I haven't seen any evidence for. Maybe there's lithium in there. I don't know, but there's, where's the evidence? Show me the lithium. Otherwise, yeah, I just have to sit on the fence for that one. I just don't know. Are you safe because of Hurricane Florence? Yes, I'm on the other side of the country. It's the East Coast that is jeopardized. We don't really get hurricanes here. I've never had them. We're California side, so I'm fine. It's a really big freaking country, so yeah, we might not see anything from that. But yeah, the East Coast has got to worry. They've got to worry. They're the side that gets those tropical storms. Yeah. They say that they would never want to live in California for the earthquakes. But at least with an earthquake, you can run outside into a field and you'll be safe. That's all I have to say. I'll take the earthquakes. Thank you. But thanks for asking, KSB Crafter. Yeah, no, I'm all right. Over there on the East Coast. Yeah, I'm hoping that maybe that hurricane will just die down a little. That could help a lot. A lot of hurricanes these days. They used to be really rare. I just don't remember the East Coast getting hit much before. I mean, I never remember it getting hit, to be honest. It used to come up underneath to the south of the country. I don't remember the East Coast getting hit. They used to say, oh, theoretically New York could hit, but the chances were like 1 in a gajillion, like 1 in every 200 years. But that doesn't seem to be how it operates anymore. It looks like the East Coast is kind of free game now. Went down to Cat 3. Still bad, but still better than a 4. Yeah, if it just settles down a little bit. Somehow we're talking about a police official in the U.S. and using a lien to... I don't know anything about that. Subrogation in the court. How to win. Aliens are Aline and Law. Do you know what Aline is? It's not from another planet. I've heard about putting Aline on someone's house. I'll have to look into that later. Alrighty, well, it's getting late, and I do have to still work tomorrow. So, I think it is about time for me to sign off from you guys. Alright, let's see. That one's this one. I've got nothing else on my agenda. It wasn't a real super busy Mandela week, but I think a lot of it is just I was sick for most of it, so I wasn't out finding out things. Alright, here is the channel. Oh, you know what? There's one thing I did want to cover real quick. I almost forgot. Kind of spaced out today. There were a couple changes in a couple of the... This is one, the CERN, the Shiva CERN. Let's see if it'll load. Oh, it's loading quick. This guy's looking bigger to me. This little guy that Shiva stands on, I think, has gotten a little larger. His eyebrow now is very defined. He wasn't like that before. And I think he's gotten bigger, and I think it has changed how she stands now. Because he's gotten bigger, but I don't think she has. Let's see if I can find that back view one. All right, here. This is the one that first got my attention. I don't remember this foot like this right here. When I first saw that, I'm like, what is that thing? Because I look at this all the time. All right, something just went, oops, my tab clashed again. See if we can get that live. Okay, so we've got this weird foot thing here. I don't think that was in view. I think it was more down here. It didn't look like this. This whole angle of this one has changed. So I think the reason why is because that guy's bigger. With him bigger, this foot is more bent now. And I think this one kicks up a little higher than it used to be. There's just a little bit of changes in here. And I think that that's why I see that foot up higher in a different place. And I notice it from the back view. So that's one change that recent that I've seen in Shiva. Not a big deal, but just a little thing. Oh, wow. Somebody gave me a super chat. Doodle a day. Thank you. Appreciate that. $24.99. That was cool. It made a noise, too. I wasn't sure if it was a noise of something that you guys did or it was my tab crashing again. I might be almost up to enough money to buy another little stinky computer so that this one won't crash every 5 minutes. So thank you. I really appreciate that. And Cupie also, is now a patron on my Patreon account. So I really want to thank Cupie also. Oh, you're still here. Thank you. Both of you. Thank you so much. Let's see what you guys are up to here. It always amazes me when people do that. I never really expect it. Okay, so that one, small changes there. I've been watching this one. There's been a lot of weird stuff going on with the knee. Now, I looked at knees before, and it was a while ago. And this center one here is a lot more centered, I think, than it used to be. There used to be this really weird thing where the three ligaments would swirl around. They were attached really weird. And now they're very straightforward, where they just attach top to bottom, and down the middle. It's really simple now. This is much more simple than it was a few years ago. Also, this region here, which is the what do you call that? Oh, I forgot the name of that one. this, I forgot the name of this, but this cartilage stuff here, that looks a lot different than I remember it. It looks like two little toilet seats now, and they're kind of a separate little thing. And it looks a lot different it's a lot more sophisticated than I remember it. I think definitely try to keep an eye on this whole knee joint thing. There's something going on in here. The knees are really feeling weird on a lot of people. The ligaments are not the exact layout. This layout looks a lot more smart than the old one. The old one really looked weird with just ligaments wrapped everywhere. But anyway, I've been watching that because of the knee thing. I don't have too much to report on it. Unfortunately, I wasn't a super knee expert, and it used to be so complicated it was hard to memorize. It's actually a lot easier now. Oh, this one, a little bit of change here. Last time I checked, this rough area went way up over here. It has now come down. So that shoulder continues to develop. The hair on here is also continuing to develop. It used to be only Washington's hair was really chiseled out, but now we have a similar hair going on over here. There was a couple other things here. Let's see. What was it? It's not that one. Shoot, my mind's kind of oh, okay, I remember. No, it wasn't that one. This one. This is supposed to be one of the early designs for the Mount Rushmore, and this area here is new with this hand. This kind of ended about here before, and this looks a little different down here as well. I think it was straight across before. This hand was not here, and it's a crazy looking thing. It looks like some creepy paw. So this one is now finished up a little bit lower than it was last time I checked. Another thing is that the face here is now quite a bit in shadow. This image was not like just 2 weeks ago. You could see the face a lot better over here. I think that maybe it's because this face is now turned to the right, to his right a lot more, so you can't see it as much, which is a similar thing that the actual Mount Rushmore is also doing. This face looks like it's looking up more too than it was. So there's just something, this one is constantly changing, but the big one is this hand. This creepy little paw hand was not like that before. I think that's all the ones I wanted to cover for changes. There's some tiny little things in some of these. This chip on the chin here wasn't there a few weeks ago. Was flawless. The face to me looks a little fatter or something. It is not. It was looking very feminine for a while. It looks kind of fat and not as pretty right now for me than it did. That face, yeah, it just looks more pudgy. That's another change. Recent one for me. I did a full report on the female Shiva at university. Still have the paper. Shiva's history changed. Does your paper still say it's a female Shiva? Because that would be really interesting if it does. I think you might find some really interesting things in that paper. Either way, if it changes or it doesn't, it's going to be a trip. Shiva has definitely got more female, and Miss Liberty has definitely got more male. Well, for me, Shiva was a female, so it's definitely got more male. And for a while, it was a male face, but it looked more female than it did. So right now, the face is looking fatter and more male to me than it has yet. Yeah, Shiva was female for me originally, and 3 arms on each side, too. Who was it last week mentioned also that, for me, the hands were always out like this, all 3 of them. But now with it flipped in front, that blocks the chest region. so you don't notice the changes in the chest as much. I hadn't really thought of that, but yeah, that kind of hides some of the change, which is kind of interesting when you think about it. They did a test on people who needed new knees. One half they gave the new knee, and the other half cut them open, sewed it up, but told them they got a new knee. Had the same recovery rate on both sides. Gosh, is that even ethical that you could cut into somebody that badly? I'm surprised that they... In my old timeline, I just don't think that that would clear because of do no harm. I mean, cutting open a knee, slashing it open and sewing it up, that does not fit the do no harm principle for my old timeline. I mean, as much as they would have maybe wanted to do a control group like that, I just can't imagine they would have ever gotten approval for such a thing. I mean, they do a lot more creepy stuff in this timeline. Carolyn Threading, yeah, Shiva's male now. Been that way for a while, at least a year, probably a bit more. More arms on Shiva, yep. Used to have an extra set beyond what's there now. All right, it's really getting late now, so I am definitely going to call it a day. Was the left arm bent? You know, there does seem to be a little bit more of a bend in the arms here or something. There's something weird about this bend right here. I think that's different. Maybe it's because this guy's bigger. I'm not sure, but there does seem to be something a little bit different about that. Anyway, I could go on forever, so I'm going to have to show a tiny molecule of discipline here and cut it out. So I wanted to thank you all for coming. This is Eva from Once Upon a Timeline, signing off.